Hi, I'm Natalie Jill, fat loss expert turned high performance coach. When odds are stacked against us, how do we shift and create everything from nothing? How do we level up when we aren't feeling it yet or we've had a big setback? On this podcast, I'll be talking to some of the most inspiring and courageous men and women on this planet who, at their worst, learned how to achieve success greater than they ever dreamed possible, leveling up and creating everything from nothing. 10 years ago, Angie Lee was a blogger who was also a college dropout, $100,000 in debt, and she was just wanting to share tips on her blog. She didn't know then what she knew now, that she would build an empire by the young age of 29, just being her candid, authentic self. Today, Angie Lee is your hilarious and wicked smart business bestie you've always wanted. A serial entrepreneur, vibrant speaker, life coach, and business mentor. Angie's genius is helping women embrace fear, take messy action, and monetize their passion. She's a 7-figure entrepreneur under 30, and she's cracked the code for organic marketing by successfully producing multiple 6- and 7-figure product launches with no paid advertising, no complicated funnels, just being her authentic self. Angie teaches her community how to grow and scale their online business with standout branding, authentic messaging, and intuitive marketing. Angie's amazing example of how anyone can level up and create everything from nothing. Today on Leveling Up, I've got Angie Lee. Angie, I've been dying to meet you. We have so many friends in common. I see you online. I love everything that you stand for, your CBD oil, all of the stuff that you stand for, actually. And I'm so excited to talk with you today and introduce you to my crowd on how you've leveled up and created everything from nothing. So thank you for being here.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much. Yeah, I've been following you for a few years now, and I just love everything you're doing. And it's so inspiring, and you're just so damn consistent, and I love it. So I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you. So, okay, take us back, because I look online now and I see you've got your CBD oil company. I see you speaking. You've got events. It looks like you kind of came out of nowhere. And now you've got this huge following. You're doing all these amazing things. But I know that you weren't just like born into success. You didn't just drop into this. Like, who were you before all of this? Can you take us back to like how you even became who you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it is funny that we all think that someone just randomly, it just happened. And
yeah,
I think that with you, and if they discover you tomorrow, they're like, oh, she just probably, this was really easy to build this audience. And you're like, I've been doing this for so long.
Right.
So, yeah, it's been about 9.5, 10 years now. I started a blog in college, accidentally, just sharing health and wellness tips.
Okay.
Similar to you, where it was more of just a passion. Especially 10 years ago, I didn't think that there was a way to really monetize it. I didn't know about that. There wasn't Instagram back. There wasn't, all these platforms weren't as popular. So it wasn't a thing to be an influencer.
Yeah.
And I was 19, I'm 29 now. And so it was more of me just sharing my experience going to school for dietetics. I was a personal trainer. I was a nutritionist. I was just sharing what I was learning. And for anyone listening who's obsessed with health and wellness, it's something that once the bug bites you, it's kind of, you just want to share with anyone and everyone. So I just kept doing that. And eventually what happened is I noticed there was a way to monetize through ebooks and courses and sponsorships. And so once I realized there was a way to actually monetize that, that's when I kind of was in that situation of, okay, when I leave college, do I want to go be a dietitian, or do I actually want to pursue this online? How do I want to do this? And so on the side, while I was in college classes, I'd be doing coaching. I was not, I was supposed to be taking a chemistry test, and instead I'd be responding to my audience or writing a blog post.
Oh yeah. And
started recording videos. Back then the videos weren't as nice. They were in the dark. They were the audio was crappy. I started offering coaching packages. I kind of just made it up as I was going, because there was some, but there weren't a ton of role models doing what I wanted to do. And
sure.
It's about success, but a lot of times it's just jumping in without all of the answers, getting really, really messy, and just doing what you love. And so I started this health and wellness brand online. And then fast forward, what happened about 3-4 years ago is a lot of women started to ask me, which I'm sure has happened to you a ton, is how did you monetize the blog? How did you monetize those videos? How did you sell coaching packages? How did you sell the ebook? How did you do these things? And I can still remember that first email. And I remember thinking, is that a thing? Is business coaching and marketing coaching a thing online? And now it's really popular, but it wasn't as popular. And so I took my passion for marketing, which I'm obsessed with marketing and teaching marketing. And I developed an online school that taught health and wellness coaches how to monetize their online brand. And that blew up in 2015 to 2017. My business partner and I built that to over $1 million company in 18 months and with zero paid ads and just by using
Wow.
live video and using podcasting. Thank God, podcasting's been my gem. And so a lot of my stuff now has been around marketing and the business mindset for female entrepreneurs. And I credit a lot of that organic growth and success to podcasting and live video. I built a ton of my audience from Facebook live videos. That's where I've sold out pretty much all the courses, all the masterminds. And now I'm going more into the the Instagram story world. But it's interesting. That's kind of the cliff notes.
Okay, so I have a lot of questions about that because I know people listening are going, okay, but what, but this, but that. So I've got a bunch of questions. So for starters, like, okay, you're so young. You're 29. You started this when you were 19. Like, did it ever occur to you? And if it did, how did you get around it? Like, did it ever occur to you, like, oh my gosh, I'm too young? Did you ever have this like self-imposed stop? Like I'm too young to be doing this? And how did you handle it if you did? And if you didn't have that, like, why not? Because I think that's pretty cool right there. Because I think a lot of people stop themselves because they think they're not the right profile or they're not the right person for something.
100%. I have actually dealt with that limiting belief a lot, even though I feel as if I'm a very old soul and I had to grow up really fast. My parents had a crazy, messy divorce and I had to be the adult. So I feel like I had to grow up really fast and had to be the responsible one emotionally and financially. But I do still know that I'm very, very young. And that's always been something I've had to work through is it doesn't matter really how old you are. There's people who in their 60s can still benefit from my youth and what I'm learning and how to make it applicable to what's going on now with this revolution in tech and in social media. And so I've started to see it as an advantage and as leverage and as, oh my God, if I start this now, I can't imagine where my brand's going to be at 39, 49. And so I see it as an advantage, but of course, full vulnerability for the audience. So they know they're not alone. That was a few years ago. My limiting belief is I can't be 25 years old and teach marketing, yet I was getting people results and I loved it. And so, that's a real, that's a real fear for anyone is that we're either too young or we're too old, right?
Yeah, totally. And I deal with the other side, the too old part. So I get it. So you just kind of like, you were aware that you had that feeling about it, but you just said, but I'm good. So I'm going to keep going. Is that sort of what?
I think I talk a lot to my future self. And I said, what would the Angie in her late 30s be really proud of? And I'm really trying to build something where I want to put in that work now. And I want to sacrifice a bit now so I don't have to not worry as much, but I really want to know that I'm proud of what I've built and knowing that I'm in it for the long haul. I'm in it for a very, very, very sustainable brand that takes me through however long I live. And so I think knowing that I'm in this for the long haul, you got to start somewhere. I mean, I think I tell my women, it's like the Tony Robbins effect. You can't just be Tony Robbins overnight. And so you've got to start messy, start young, start imperfect. And I'm maturing as it grows, which is really cool.
Yeah. And I love it. It seems to be a theme too. Like you started the blog, not really even knowing where you're going with it, just sharing what you were learning. Correct. Like, so you didn't have like this big vision for it. You're just like, I'm going to share what I'm learning right now, what I know,
If you've ever do you know your Enneagram? Have you taken the Enneagram?
I've never even heard of that.
Oh, no. You got to take the Enneagram test. It's great. There's 8 different personality types. I'm a 7, which is an enthusiast, which means if I find something I love, I have to share it with everyone.
Okay.
And that naturally produces quote unquote like an influencer online where any products I love or programs or services, I'm just always sharing with people. My audience, they're like my best friends. And so I think that naturally was in my personality and I love broadcast journalism. So I think me sharing content and creating content came so naturally to me. And I was bored in school and I didn't have anything else to do. Now realizing that was such a blessing to be building an audience so young. And I had nothing to sell at the time. I was like, just follow what I'm eating and look at my workouts. And then I woke up one day and realized, oh, you can actually sell this.
So you're of the belief set, which I love too, by the way, that you don't have to really just stand for or do one thing. Like you could do a lot of different things, it sounds like.
Yeah, I do now. I think it's really smart to start narrow and have that niche. Absolutely. I think it's really good to have, especially in health and wellness industry, like fat loss coaching, or are you a keto coach, or what is that you do really, really well? And then you go wide. So now I want to bring wellness actually back into my brand and biohacking and CBD and brain hacks and all this weird stuff. But I see it as start with a niche so people see you as credible and trustworthy, and then you can expand with the brand. And I'm sure the same with you. Now you started in fitness and now people want to know everything about your life, from what do you, I mean, just where did you buy that headband? And then what's your relationship like with your husband? I mean, people grow with you and then they want to know everything about you, which is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. But I love that. Start narrow and go wide. Okay. So so you've got this business coaching that's doing well, and now you add the CBD oil in, or maybe that's not the right order of it, but how did that come about? And how did you, because that's like a whole different field now. Like you're going to now launch a product on top of doing the business coaching.
I know, a physical product. So my brother is a professional athlete. He's a top 5 boxer in the world, actually. And he started to use CBD for pain management. And he's very entrepreneurial. And he came to me one day and said, Ange, I love this stuff. Have you ever tried this? I think you'll like it for anxiety. And I'm sure someone listening also deals with anxiety. I've always had it as a very, I guess, type A, fast-paced, entrepreneurial woman. I'm just always on the go and overthinking, and it's a blessing.
I have no idea what that's like. I'm just kidding. I drink CBD.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I find that entrepreneurs are our biggest market actually for CBD right now.
They probably are. Yes. Anxiety, can't shut your brain off, all of it.
Oh, it's the worst, especially before you go to bed. You got all these business ideas or things you haven't finished, and then you realize it's never really done because it's your own business and it's never going to end. So I started using it and I loved it. I am a huge holistic hippie, I call myself, where I do not want to take medication unless I have to. I won't even take a Tylenol unless I absolutely have to. So my brother was like, Angie, you got to try this out. So we both fell in love with it. And then he realized, being very entrepreneurial and really into the business side of the cannabis industry and what was going on, he approached me and said, I think we have a really good opportunity here with your audience and mine and where we're both going to get into this physical product. And I said, you know what? Helping people make money is really satisfying. It's great, but there's something about a woman messaging us and saying, hey, I haven't had a headache in 5 days, and I haven't gone 7 years without a headache, or my son can actually go to school now and be social, that it's so fulfilling that we're on that roller coaster now of where could this take us, and build it to sell it, or we're not sure. I mean, it's an interesting world right now. It's very volatile. It's very, very lucrative if done right, but it's also really scary because there's a lot of laws. So
what's interesting to me is that, if people jump into like, I'm going to sell a product to make money, there's a long journey ahead. But if you do it out of something you're actually studying, learning, using, and it's part of you, it seems like that's a key to making it super successful.
Yeah, I think so. I think money only goes so far, and you have to be in it for the right reasons, because CBD is such a beautiful plant, and it's to go into it just for the money is I don't think is fulfilling. And so I like to make sure, and I'm sure you do this as an entrepreneur, I think it's really important every once in a while to look at your testimonials and actually feel it for a second and say, wow, that's a real woman behind this computer screen or behind this phone who is dealing with daily migraines that prevented her from preventing her from actually participating in her life or being a good wife, husband, friend. I mean, it's insane to read these and to realize that we're changing people's lives to make them get out of pain. I mean, it's incredible. So we're kind of riding the wave. It's risky. There's a lot of entrepreneurs who don't want to go into this industry because you can't run Facebook ads. There's a lot of, you're swimming upstream, but I'm really, really, I'm kind of a rule breaker and pretty ballsy. And I'm like, all right, if somebody's got to get into this industry, might as well be us. And we're really praying that a few of these farm bills are passed soon. And, CBD will become the next turmeric. It's just going to take a long time. So
for people listening that don't know what CBD is, if you've been hiding under a rock, can you explain it real quick, what it is?
Yeah, it's and I noticed it's usually the people from the Midwest. I'm from Chicago. I moved to California just 2 years ago. So I came from a world where CBD was not a thing, but now you and I in Cali, it's like the thing out here. It's in every tea and soup and
water now. There's
wellness shop.
Water. Yep.
But it's cannabidiol, and essentially what it is it's the non-hallucinogenic form of cannabis. So the cannabis plant it gets a lot of smack, but it's this beautiful plant that has a lot of medicinal benefits, such as pain management, reducing anxiety, helping with insomnia, joint pain, inflammation. But a lot of people don't want to get high, and the stigma is cannabis makes you a stoner. But if you extract the CBD out of the cannabis and you leave the THC you just leave it for something, you can go sell THC obviously, but you're extracting the most beautiful part of the plant that doesn't have any hallucinogenic effects. So you're getting all the medicinal benefits and you're not getting high, which is great. And so people are waking up to, oh my gosh, I could receive all the benefits of cannabis without being high. That's amazing, because most people don't want to be high. And so it's been my favorite thing for anxiety, but I know a lot of people it's for joint pain and sleep for sure.
Yes. I feel like it's a miracle supplement.
It kind of is. It's crazy, but it's cool to know it's been around forever. And I feel like we're going through almost like the prohibition of cannabis.
Yeah. So Angie, okay, so you're 29, you're uber successful, obviously. You've got CBD oil company, you've got your blog that you had started, you've got this business coaching aspect, you're doing events. Like when someone says, what do you do? Like, what's your answer to that?
It's really weird. Lately, I've been having some issues with that. It's like, new people I meet out here, like, so what do you do? And I'm like, wow, it's so weird, because in my head, I see myself as an influencer or a podcaster, but then sometimes people are confused. What is that? How do you make money doing that? That doesn't make sense. So I'll feel out where I am. If I'm in an elevator in like the Midwest and people are like, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I'm a marketing coach, right? I sell marketing products online. And then if I'm in California or LA, I say, oh, I'm a podcaster. So it's like,
so you're a chameleon. You're whatever you need to be.
I'll say speaker, but people in Chicago, where I'm from, they don't really know what an influencer is or how they make money. So I usually just say I'm a marketing coach, which is part of my business. So, I mean, what do you say? It's funny, right? When you're kind of,
I say it depends on the day, which is very accurate.
Yeah, it's hard to give it one label, right?
Yeah. So I want people to hear that too, though, because it is okay to just have multiple interests. You don't have to be one thing all day, all night. You can have multiple interests. So what drives you? Because you have so much energy and so many ideas and you create so much. What would you say drives you?
That's a good question. I feel it's evolving, and I think it's going to keep evolving. And I know one day it's going to be for my kids and my family, but I think right now it's being obsessed with freedom and being obsessed with time freedom, and knowing that there are so many women out there who don't have the confidence that women like you and I have, or these beautiful influencers who are really helping women find confidence in their finances or their fitness. And knowing that if we can be a light and be a voice for that, it's almost a responsibility, I think, to give that back. And so that's my deeper why. I mean, yeah, it's great to help women make money, but I think when you help a woman make money, you're helping her build confidence, similar to fitness. And so ideally, I'm a confidence coach, but really the vehicle for that is helping people find some financial freedom in their life. So.
Now, did you, as a kid, if you think back, did you always know you'd be successful?
That's a good question. I guess so. I've always been a little bit of like a manifester, always a daydreamer, and always felt this pull and felt this urge and knew that there was something bigger and greater that I was going to do. And so, yeah, I would say it was always an underlying feeling. I just didn't know what, but I kind of get out of the what, I don't know where I'm going to be at 39. I know it's going to be amazing and awesome, and I can feel it, but I don't know what that's going to look like. And so I like to just get out of the what sometimes, or the how. Yeah.
So it's like, you just know you're headed in a good direction, but you're not very clear on specifically where.
Yeah. And it's going to change so much. Of course, my vision is like the next female Tony Robbins and these huge events and speaking and just blowing up that space. But at the same time, I don't know what that's necessarily specifically going to look like, just because social media and platforms are changing, and who knows. But all I know is that I want to use the gift of speaking for sure and continue doing that.
Now, what makes, like, when you were a kid, if you were to look back and say, like, what did you want to be when you grew up? Did you think you'd be doing something entrepreneurial? What were you headed into? And did you have a family that supported you having an entrepreneurial life?
Yeah, well, I wanted to be a broadcast journalist, actually. I wanted to be a weather girl or a sports reporter. So I love the camera. I love speaking. That's where I actually feel more comfortable. So I wanted to be a journalist. And then I found out that the unsexy truth of being a journalist in Idaho is isn't that fun? So that's where I like the influencer part of my job, is I get to, share things I love and present on video and audio. But my parents are really, really supportive. I actually left college a few semesters short. I was right about to graduate, and I went into the office and I pieced out because I just knew so much in my soul that it wasn't aligned and I would never need that degree, and I didn't want it. And my mom, a little bit more so, was a little nervous. And then my dad, being a serial entrepreneur, understood the feeling of not wanting to be in a cage and not follow the rules. And he's been a big support with that. So I think having one entrepreneurial parent really helps, so they don't think that you're crazy. Because growing up, I remember thinking something was wrong with me. I'm like, I'm in these classrooms. I feel like these are all sheep and they're just telling us all to go do the same thing, make the same amount of money, have the same job. I mean, school breeds employees. It doesn't breed creatives. And so I always very creatively suppressed, very confused. I would come home crying and say, Mom, I don't know what I want to do. And I don't know, I don't want to be a doctor or a lawyer. It was very confusing in the 90s growing up with that. And so now, I mean, kids are growing up with social media, and my kids will probably know what a YouTuber is when in high school, but I assume one day, but then it was weird to say you wanted to just create something online or have an online brand. My counselor was like, what is that? How are you going to make money? And I said, I don't know. I'm going to figure it out though. And I just remember her laughing, and now it's funny because she's proud. No, I'm laughing, but but it's interesting, right? I mean, you have a daughter. It's like, how old is she? Like 12?
My daughter's 11. So you're talking, when I grew up, it was in the 70s. So when I grew up, it was, I mean, not only was there not social media or anything, there was literally like 3 jobs that a female would become. I mean, you could be like a teacher, you could be like a bank teller. Like there was not, it was out of the box even to work in corporate as a female.
Oh, so, yeah. And then your daughter now in high school, is she learning about social media and marketing?
Yeah. Well, she doesn't learn it at school, but they learn it as a product of the environment with the kids. Like she has her own YouTube channel already. She grows up in a very different in a different space. And I think, and also being in California, there is a heavy sway towards entrepreneurial, being an entrepreneur. So she gets a heavy side of that as well. But yeah, it has changed. I mean, years ago, people did not have that push for that.
Yeah, well, it's awesome. It's opened up new job opportunities. I think it's a great thing.
For sure. For sure. So you always seem like if I want inspiration, I just go to your Instagram page because you always have like some creative idea. And I'm like, how is she always so creative? It can't just be the CBD oil. So how do you get yourself to be creative? And like, do you have days that you're not? And what do you do when you're not feeling it?
It's just the CBD oil, you guys. That's all it is. CBD oil helps with any, no, I'm just kidding. Creativity. I am a pure creative. So I'm actually someone who I love to create, but then I'm not as strong in other things as execution. Or I'm not left brain at all. Like I hate strategy. I hate systems. I hate organization. I hire people to do that stuff. I'm like very big picture creative, very big picture of like the content and the flow, like a producer's mindset. And so I'm always seeing life with the glasses of a scene of like, wow, this could be a great story, or this is something I'm going through. This is funny, or this would be a funny how-to. So I think I almost have had those lens, but what I also do is I keep a pulse on my audience. I take into account their responses or what they want to see, and then I regurgitate it back. So I do a lot of reverse engineering, and I actually take their lingo sometimes, copy and paste it, and put it into a document called responses from audience. And then I know what to create and how to speak to them because I'm actually using her exact language. So that's a tip for—
That's brilliant.
Yeah, I've been doing that for a while, and it's helped to sell out courses. It's helped to do everything because I'm literally speaking directly to her on a sales page or in my titles or in my live videos. And women will say like, how did you know? Or you're in my head. How did you know? And I'm like, well, I listen to my audience and I actually regurgitate what they want. And so that's kind of my cycle. And then a lot of space, exercise, meditation, yoga, hikes. I get most of my ideas outside, and then I'll put it in my notepad on my phone, and then I'll email it to myself at the end of the day or the end of the week. And then I have an email that I review called content ideas for the week. And I created all of those outside in nature on my phone. So I'm never really sitting in front of the computer to create.
I love that. So, and it sounds like you give yourself permission to not be left brain. Like, it's not like you're forcing yourself to create structure and system. You're like, okay, that's not my gig. So I'm going to focus on what I'm good at.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, I don't know if it's going to change in my 30s one day, but I feel like if I'm not already that person, I guess I could change. I don't know. I should ask my mom her tips around this, but I've never been that way. I hate the systems. I hate strategy. I don't like that. I'm like, I just a pure marketing creative brain. And so I've realized it's okay. I don't have to have shame around that. I can hire people to help with the execution. Yeah. I can just be in my play state and my creative state, and one's not better than the other. Companies need all of them. They need all those different players. So
I was going to ask you how you stimulate creativity, but it sounds like you just live, you go out, get out in nature, and you just live your life. And that's when things come to you.
Yeah. And I think I take into account different conversations with people. I'm always going to different workshops or business conferences. I'm always stimulating my brain with podcasts and books. I'm never not learning. And so after I consume something, I can say, oh, is that applicable to my audience? Would that be applicable to this woman, as an example of something in marketing? And I'm sure you're doing the same. You're always learning and taking in stuff. And so if I'm constantly a student of life, then I should never be out of content ideas, because I'm doing the work for my audience. I'm learning for them.
Yeah. Now, how do you spend your time in your day? Like, how do you have structure to your day? How do you spend it?
Yeah, I would call it flexible structure, where I'm someone who I don't like my Google Calendar to have too many colors throughout the week, or I get anxiety. I'm like, I want more white space. So what I've been doing now is content batching. So let's say Mondays and Wednesdays would be podcasting. Tuesdays and Thursdays would be creating for courses or creating content. So now I'm trying that after being kind of up and down throughout the day and switching my brain into different tasks. I know task switching can be really exhausting. So now I'm trying to batch create on different days, but I work about 4 to 5 days a week. And then the other days, I guess, I mean, it's weird. I say I don't work, but then my friends or my family or my team will say, well, no, you're still working. You're writing down content ideas in your phone, or you're thinking of a podcast you have to do. And so maybe it doesn't really end, but I try to take Saturdays and Sundays to not be as active with it. But the irony and the weird thing about being in the space where you're an influencer is I'm showing them my lifestyle. So that never really ends. And so finding the boundary with that is kind of difficult. But yeah, I batch create, which I know you're into, right? I think I've seen you talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely am. I definitely think that it makes the most sense to do that for time management, for sure.
Yeah. Well, you're very organized, right? You're more left brain.
I'm definitely not more left brain. I've taught myself to be more organized.
It's possible.
Yeah, it is possible. It is possible. But it's just like somebody would hire you for a business coach, or like you would teach them a system. Like there's a system for everything. So yes, there is definitely systems that people can put in place to become more organized and more structure oriented. And that's batch creating is a result of that, of learning that.
Yeah.
Of learning a system.
Yeah.
So talk about like what kinds of people do you spend your time with? And do you think that's important to have the right types of people in your life to be staying creative and a successful entrepreneur?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's the secret to, everything. I'm joining a mastermind in January. Lewis is actually, Lewis. So I'm really excited to be part of that and just keep growing with, usually it's masterminds like that are structured, but if not, even just my friend circle in LA and San Diego is all really high vibe, positive, entrepreneurial women, which I love. And I think that was part of the reason why I moved from the Midwest to California, is to be in that space. And it may sound crazy, but just being around them is really what helped to catapult my business, because I see life so differently now. I see the possibilities are so endless, and hanging out with friends that you could just say like, hey, oh, this will make $1 million. Oh, this would be a great idea. It's a normal conversation over coffee. It's kind of surreal and weird, but you basically up level in a sense. Your idea of what successful is shifts and changes. And I think changing my environment was one of the best things I ever did. So I think it's everything.
Now, you said you sort of batch create, you sort of have a schedule. Do you have a routine where you start your day the same way every day, or is that just how you feel, or how do you structure your days that way in the mornings?
Yeah, I love to do exercise first thing in the morning if I can. I'm a walk junkie. I'm like this grandma who walks around Solana Beach. I feel like I'm like always walking around the neighborhood here. I do mini walks throughout the day. So I'll do one in the morning where I listen to a podcast, or I'm listening to or watching a YouTube video that's really inspirational or upbeat or music. Then I'll work for a few hours and I'll go on a walk again. So I'm always moving my body, or I'll do a handstand, I'll stretch, I'll do some yoga. I'm constantly moving. I like to do fitness in the morning to get my brain going. I do intermittent fasting now a little bit, so I don't eat until noon. I've been playing with that a lot for my energy. But yeah, I'm a huge believer in making your mornings feel really, really good and juicy and exciting and fun and playful. And then from 11 to 6 or 11 to 7 is usually when I work. But I don't like to work until about 11, which sounds crazy, but it works. And I know a lot of entrepreneur friends start at 7 a.m. and they grind, and I like the 11 to 5, and it works for me. And I think it's enough if you're in the zone.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. I don't think there's a right or wrong. I think it's finding your groove and your flow and where you're strong. And that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, okay. So Angie, if somebody is listening to you and they've got those limiting beliefs, they've got those self-imposed stops, like I'm too old, I'm too young, or whatever, or maybe they're in a place of like, they just lost their business and they're looking for an idea, or
they're just starting out, whatever it is. So taking it back to when you were first deciding to get into business coaching or to start the CBD oil company, what are some things, some tips you would give somebody where they can like literally start to level up and create from nothing, because you've done it over and over and over again. So what would you tell somebody else looking in on how they can do that?
For someone who wants to create a physical product or just
anything. They just want to create something of their life. Like a lot of people listening are in a place where they're stuck. I mean, their business failed, or they've got those limiting beliefs that it's too late, it's too early, whatever it is, that they can't do it. And they're working on changing and creating something. Yeah. So you've done it over and over and over again at a young age. And I'm wondering, like, what advice would you give somebody looking in? Like, if you were to look back like on how you've done it so many times, like what are some actions they can take, some things that they can do to start getting in that space?
Yeah. I love that. I have a vision I started a book that I think it'll be out in 2019 or 2020, all about kind of this concept that I deeply believe in. And it's basically, failing first and starting really messy and embracing the suck and embracing the fact that it's not going to look pretty. And I think that a lot of people are afraid to try something new because, God forbid, it's not the right thing. Instead of seeing it as, through this, I'll find a lesson, and through this, I'm going to find clarity. And the most successful people have realized that they've only found clarity through action. They never found it through sitting there and just farting around and wondering what was going to happen and Googling it. They found it through actually taking action. So if you're listening to this, you have an idea for something, I would be unattached to the outcome, but also be ready to kind of see, bring that to fruition through action and be taking those steps a few times a week, even if it's just a little, even if it's something very, very small, knowing that through that, you're going to find your action. I just think most people are too afraid to try anything. So they're in paralysis and they stand still.
So true.
Versus it's okay to fail. It's okay to try a business and it doesn't do well. My brother and I had another business a few years ago in food distribution. Quote unquote was a failure. We got rid of it, but we learned so much. So it wasn't a failure. So I think you just have to keep moving. I think there's beauty in that momentum. And and that's why I don't know where I'll be in 10 years, but I know as long as I keep jumping and being, this is why I called my event Pays to Be Brave, being braver than the next person to try something, then it's always going to lead me to a happy, successful life. So just jumping in. I think too many people are sitting there and waiting for the answers or what's my life purpose. I don't think we have one life purpose either. I think we have a few. So not being attached to one thing is really helpful as well.
I love this. Where can people find you? Where can they find your CBD oil? Can they find more about you, about your business coaching, everything?
Yeah, you guys can go to angielee.com and you guys can go to mysoulcbd.com to check out CBD, and also say hi on Instagram. Ask me any questions there.
Is that where you're most active on social media, on Instagram?
Yeah, I love Instagram. Who doesn't? It's the best.
Awesome. Thank you, Angie.
Thank you.
Thanks for leveling up with us today. Please share this episode if you found it helpful so others can join in. And don't forget to hit that subscribe so you don't miss out on future shows. And if you would leave me a 5-star review, I appreciate those so much. I read all of them, and it's how I know that I'm giving you information that you find valuable. And come interact with me over on Instagram at NatalieJillFit. I read all the direct messages and comments over there. Make it a great day, creating everything from nothing.